meant a new beginning. Here's Marsha Brandwin.
My whole objective in life was to take what I wanted, when I wanted it.
This is John Kevaney. To look at him, you'd never know he tried to kill a man at knife point.
I didn't have much value for life, sure.
He held him hostage for 6 hours.
I had no value for mine, so how could I appreciate another human being's life?
That he's walking around today a free man is something of a miracle. His story begins in Vietnam, 1970. After emigrating to the United States in '68, John, idealistic, not even a citizen yet, joined the Army. He was picked for the elite Rangers unit. John was trained to track down the enemy and destroy him. It's a skill he'd use back home years later. By the end of his tour, the Scottish immigrant was bitter, disillusioned, and angry.
I turned to drugs, like a lot of young men, and I really ended up with a very serious heroin habit.
But a lot of that attitude and a lot of that addiction and anger and hate came back with the troops.
Shad Meshad served in Vietnam too, as a psychology officer. Soon his life would become entangled with John's in an extraordinary way. It began while he worked as a therapist here at the VA hospital in West Los Angeles when the troops came home.
Foxholed the front porch in 36 hours. I mean, there was no way to filter that out. I mean, the John Kevaneys were there, addicted, combat, loaded with everything, professional killers.
And Shad would find out what it meant to have a professional killer around, because after the war, John Kevaney came to the same hospital for help. What he found disgusted him.
You could smell the human waste and the odor from the front door before you went in the ward. And it was, it was atrocious.
So John kept his heroin habit and used his old Army Ranger skills in new ways.
Did you commit robberies? Is that what you were doing?
Yeah.
What else?
Burglaries, assaults with deadly weapon, attempt murder, and yeah, I was very angry. And my whole objective in life was to get up in the morning and support my habit and make everybody around me feel as miserable as I did.
John was locked up on and off for 11 years. And when he got out, he went right back to the VA for help.
They would let me sit and talk for an hour about my problem, which was I was homeless. I had no marketable skills. I was unemployable. And then they tell me my session was up and I'd have to go live on the streets again and come back tomorrow.
And we are not leaving until our representatives meet with President Ronald Reagan.
That's right.
In May of 1981, John Kevaney, desperate to kick heroin, led a 6-week hunger strike against the VA.
I'll never forget one of my oldest
Shad
cousins.
helped mediate the strike's end. But promises by the government were not kept. John Kevaney, feeling enraged and betrayed, targeted Shad Meshad as the enemy. Now he wanted Shad dead.
People died because the VA wasn't taking care of their needs. He was part and parcel to that.
John stalked Shad here at his office. He was even arrested for it. And when he got out, John made threatening phone calls to Shad for more than a year. To protect himself, Shad moved his office to the basement of this building. LAPD was on alert for John Kevaney, but he marched down this hallway and they never saw him coming.
I remember the day coming in. It was like a day in Vietnam. I'm coming down over to my old office, and I could feel something real funny, and then the odor just hit me. I could smell a human being, and it just rose up over my neck, and there it was. It was just like I blinked. It was like a genie came over, and it's John Kevaney. He's got a 12-inch knife at my throat, and he's just laughing.
When you went to that office, did you think to yourself that you actually could kill him?
I knew I could kill him, but I didn't know if I was going to kill him.
But Shad knew. There he was, cornered in his office, with Kevaney high on drugs, drinking scotch, brandishing a foot-long blade.
I had to talk to myself because I knew this was it, and he's got to kill something now, because this guy has been nothing but frustrated, and it's me. And he's been telling me it was me.
Police surrounded the building. The standoff lasted 6 hours. Finally, a drunk John passed out. Shad bolted from the room, but when police burst in a minute later, John Kevaney was gone.
He had a jacket on the door with his officer's bars. And I took his officer's bars and the Bronze Star with me.
What did that symbolize for you?
I demoted him.
John Kevaney was finally captured at his old girlfriend's apartment. But for what he did at this building, he was charged with attempted murder and kidnapping. He faced up to life in prison.
And Shad, he thought his ordeal was finally over.
I was so happy. I got the call from the LAPD, and they said, "We just want to make you happy. We got Mr. Kevaney." And I tell you, wow. And they said, "We got 9 to life on him."
When I got to the county jail, the severity of it kind of really sunk in on me. And for the first time in probably all my life, I prayed in honesty. I got down on my knees in front of a urinal and asked God, if there was a God, to help me. And I promised him that I would change my ways and help others.
I've heard you say that you have to get to a place that is so low, so without hope, so painful in order to make a change.
Yeah.
Was that the moment for you?
Something happened to me that day in that holding cell.
John knew he had only one chance to get out of jail. He called Shad Meshad. Incredibly, thanks to the man he tried to kill just 48 hours before, John was spared from a life in prison.
You did not press charges.
No, I dropped those. Dropped the charges. Did that after the phone call.
Because you heard something in his voice.
There was something there. I can't describe it. In fact, I've never really talked about it because a lot of my associates thought I was crazy. They just couldn't believe I did it.
Shad wondered if he'd done the right thing and hoped he'd never see John Kevaney again. But John took the chance Shad gave him. He got into a new VA drug program, which led to a janitor's job at the hospital. As part of his rehab, he had to make amends to people he'd hurt. First on his list, Shad Meshad.
He came in and handed me this letter. John's real funny about walking in, shaking your hand, and walking away. He says, here's the letter.
You said, "Dear Shad, I owe my life to you and a couple of other people, and that is the truth, so help me God. I owe you a debt of gratitude for a second chance and for being sober today. You gave out all you can with a glad, free heart, and you do all you can for others, but back will come countless stores of blessings."
Oh, wow.
I don't believe I'm sitting here crying about this, but
Yeah.
I haven't done, I mean, this, I haven't, you know, we don't talk about all of this every day.
John Kevaney is still a janitor at the VA. But what about the promise he made in jail to help other people?
For what we're about to receive, Lord, make us strong in our recovery. Amen.
Amen.
In this house, in spare time away from his janitor's job, John Kevaney now runs what is widely regarded as the most successful program for homeless vets in the country.
There you go.
John's anger is gone now. He's married with a 1-year-old daughter.
Shad gets you crazy.
And of the 48 men who've completed his program called New Directions, more than half are in society, doing well a year after release. With numbers like that, Kevaney is getting national attention and $1 million from Congress.
This project, you're talking about.
For all the changes, one thing in John's life is the same. Shad is part of it. The man he once tried to kill is now his closest friend.
My life is so much richer because I know Shad Meshad.
That's amazing, because, you know, his life has touched mine in so many ways. And it's amazing that it almost took my life. All these contrasts are just always playing there.
Shad Meshad now runs the National Veterans Foundation in Los Angeles, which provides money to small veterans groups across the country. And one of its projects is New Directions, the program run by his good friend, John Kevaney.